Lesbian Detective. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Right now, Lesbian Detective. Lesbian Detective. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready to go. Pay attention to the message. I present to you the Lesbian Detectives.
This is Lesbian Detectives. I'm Sierra.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And we are here talking about missing and unsolved murders.
We are discussing cases that you have forgotten about or never even heard of.
So sit back, relax, and let's start this podcast. Welcome back, everybody. This is a new episode and a new week. I am excited for this new week. We scheduled another basketball game. We're going to see my wife's favorite player. I think when we started our love for basketball, we didn't know, sorry to put this out. Dallas Wings, they're not the best
They're
team.
not doing the best. So what I learned is instead of being let down, you just follow the player.
Right.
So Gabby Williams, if you're watching this, you're my favorite player, and I can't wait to see you this Friday.
And mine is, I think we all know who mine is, Dejanay. And she's with the Lynx now, and I'm not seeing her in person, so
We were following the Wings because of Dejanay.
Yes, and then she got traded. And I think we saw Gabby playing against the Dallas, and you was like, oh, I like her. And you just fell in love with her then.
And I'm also a big fan of Paige Beckers.
I know I love the stud buds, so I would love to be on their screen one day. Be too crazy for me, though.
Yeah.
But this episode right here is actually a case suggestion, and also it's a solved case. And you're like, guys, you don't do missing and unsolved murders. Yes, we do. If you have a case suggestion and it is solved, we will do it. It doesn't matter. We can't really give our theories because it is solved, but we will give our opinions of the case. So this case right here, I did hear about it when it was going through trial and stuff, and I was heartbroken. In this case right here, I have to say, I put my blood, sweat, and tears in this case because it broke my heart. I think dealing with kids, it always, something, the writer inside of me, I just cry as I write some of these cases. And this one is one of them.
And I feel like, too, because we're parents, you never want anybody to mess with your kid. And anytime that you think about a kid getting hurt, you always put yourself in the parent's shoes.
Well, this parent, I do not want to be put in their shoes. You will understand why. So let's get into the case. Once there's a little girl who dreamed of becoming a teacher. She loved school. She loved to read. She smiled brightly when her grandmother picked her up and held her close. For a while, her world felt safe, tucked away in the warmth of her grandmother's arms, where her laughter filled the space that fear could not reach. But one day, everything changed. The child was sent back to live with her father and his new wife. From the outside, there was a quiet family living in a quiet neighborhood. But inside the apartment, something darker began to take hold. The bright-eyed girl who once loved books was slowly disappearing, bit by bit, day by day. Her once healthy frame grew thinner, her voice quieter, her spirit dimmer. She was no longer taken to school. She no longer played. She was kept behind closed doors, hiding away like a secret. The adults around her stopped treating her like a child. stopped seeing her as someone worth saving. And when her body finally gave out, when the hunger was too much and the damage too deep, there was no sirens, no rush to help, no one holding her hand, just silence. In the dead of the night, the man who should have protected her carried her lifeless body, placed her in a garbage bag. He took her to the trash can outside their home, doused her with lighter fluid, and lit it with a match. But the flames refused to erase the truth. Days later, when he finally picked up the phone and told dispatch, "She's in the trash can," the horror began to unravel. Investigators found what the fire had not destroyed: a small, scorched frame curled into itself, thin as air. He confessed it. He was afraid that he'd been silent too long. He was sentenced to spend the rest of his life behind bars. The woman beside him, the one who called herself a mother, never spoke a word in her own defense. She sat silent through the trial, unmoved by photograph, testimonies, or tears. She called no witnesses, cross-examined no one, said nothing. The jury didn't need long. They found her guilty of murder, cruelty, and the long, slow erase of a child's life. And when the sentence came down, death, she didn't flinch. Now she waits in a cell alone, the only woman on death row in that state. But this story isn't about a punishment. It's about a child the world forgot. The girl who smiled through the pain and held hope in her heart, even when no one else did. Who should have been loved, should have been cherished, should have lived. This story should never have had to be told. But now that it is, we must never forget. This is the case of Emani Moss. The trash can sit beneath the rusted staircase in the quiet apartment complex. On Veranda Chase Drive. Hidden in the dark of the early morning, it was supposed to be just another trash bin. But on October the 28th, 2013, the air around it was heavy, haunted, thick, with a bitter aftertaste of something burnt and something lost. Inside was the body of a child, curled tightly like a fetus in the womb. Skin scorched, but unmistakably human. Her name was Emani Moss, and though the world had forgotten her life, it would never ignore the way she died. Born on April 23, 2003 in a Georgia hospital room, Emani Moss entered the world with a fragile promise of every child. A blank slate, eyes wide open, heart unscarred. Her name meant faith, and for a time, there was hope that she would grow up wrapped in love. She was a quiet baby, a love of music. She swayed to lullabies and later giggled through cartoon. Her mother struggled with addiction, her presence in Imani's life becoming more ghost than a guardian. By the time Emani was 3, her mother's rights was gone, leaving the little girl in the care of her father, Emani Moss. He was young and trying, and Emani for a while thrived under his watch. She began ballet lessons at the age of 3 at the Susan Chapper School of Theater and Dance. She loved to spin in a tiny pink slipper, her curls bouncing with each movement. Teacher described her as polite, shy, but glowing when she danced. Her world was delicate, but it had a rhythm. Then came Tiffany. Tiffany appeared quiet and reserved. She met Amon while working at a daycare, and he was quickly taken with her. She was soft-spoken and responsible. In 2009, they got married. Emani was 6 years old when Tiffany moved into her life permanently. At first, it was unclear if Tiffany wanted to be a stepmother. But what did become clear slowly, then all at once, was that she did not want Emani. What began as a cool distance soon turned into correction, then punishment, then cruelty. In 2010, when Emani was 7, police responded to a report from her teacher. Teachers noticed the belt marks across her body. Tiffany had whipped her, and when the police arrived, the little girl was hiding in a closet, trembling. Tiffany was arrested and charged with first-degree child cruelty, but the legal system gave her a second chance.
Oh my God.
A pretrial diversion program. No jail time, no record, just a warning. DFCS opened a file, but nothing stuck. The visitors came and went. Reports were logged in, but the caseworker, overworked, undertrained, missed the rise in danger. One by one, the lifeline around Emani began to unravel. The world didn't see what happened inside the apartments. The windows were covered with a thick curtain. The door remained closed. Neighbors saw little, but Emani was disappearing, slowly and then completely. Tiffany and Amon had 2 children of their own. They were fed, loved, dressed neatly for daycare, but Emani, the stepdaughter, the unwanted, the reminder of another woman, she was pushed out of their orbit like a planet losing gravity. She was pulled out of school. Homeschooling, Tiffany claimed, but no homeschooling ever happened. Emani was kept in her room for days at a time. She was denied food, beaten, isolated, forgotten. She grew thinner. She began writing notes to herself, childish letters filled with unhappy self-blame. I promise to be better. I won't do it again. I'm sorry, Mommy. Please don't hurt me. These words, found later among her few possessions, were echoes of a little girl trying to understand why she was unloved. Her father saw her suffering, but he did not stop it. By the fall of 2013, Emani was a ghost in her own home. The room she was kept in was like a prison. The door was sometimes locked from the outside. Food was withheld, given lightly, like a sick kind of reward. She was 10 years old, but her body was shrinking into that of a 6-year-old. Her limbs were thin. Her ribs popped out. Her cheeks were hollow. And yet she was still alive. She still had hope. Somehow, even those final days, she believed someone might come, that someone might notice, but no one came. Tiffany stopped feeding her altogether in October. She was angry that Emani had allegedly stolen a snack. That crime, in her twisted logic, warranted starvation. Over the final days, Emani couldn't walk, couldn't stand. She could barely speak, and still, no one picked up the phone. In the early evenings on October 24th, 2013, when something changed forever, Emani returned home from work expecting an ordinary night, but instead he was met with a chilling confession from his wife, Tiffany. Something was wrong with their daughter, 10-year-old Emani. She's not right, Tiffany told him. Iman rushed into the bathroom and found Emani laying in the bathtub. Her small body was convulsing, shaking uncontrollable. Her eyes rolled back and forth in their socket, unfocused, unseeing. To Iman, it looked like a seizure. She wasn't speaking, wasn't responding to his voice. Panic set in. Desperate, Iman carried Emani to her bed, hoping she recovered with rest, but she didn't. Over the next few days, she remained in that bed, unmoving, silent, growing weaker by the hours. Iman visited her from time to time, trying to feed her, to coax her into eating something, anything, but she wouldn't take the food. She couldn't. 4 days later, on October the 28th, Iman received a phone call from Tiffany while he was at work. Her voice was eerie calm as she told him Imani is dead. He rushed home. What he found was beyond comprehension. His daughter was gone. Yet, the home didn't reflect a tragedy. The television was on, the other children playing nearby. Tiffany sat watching as if nothing had happened. The normalcy of the scene was haunting, but Imani was not only gone, she suffered terribly. At the time of her death, she weighed just 32 pounds, the size of a 3-year-old child. He told police later that Tiffany wouldn't let him call 911, that she said they both go to jail, that he feared her, that he didn't know what to do. But in truth, he did nothing. He wrapped Imani's body in a blanket, her bones pressed sharply against the fabric. He placed her inside a black garbage bag, twisted and shut it, and took it outside not to bury her, not to preserve her. He dropped her in the family outdoor trash can like discard waste, and then he retrieved a jug of lighter fluid. He doused the bag in lighter fluid, and then he lit a match. The flames rose, flickered, then died out. Imani's body would not burn. Neither would the truth. They planned to destroy the evidence had failed, just as they had failed her in her life. For days, the trash can sit near the apartment building, filling with a secret so dark it radiated grief inside the air. Eventually, the smell, the smoke, the overwhelming rawness of it all drew the attention of neighbors. At 3:43 a.m. on the morning of October the 28th, 2013, a 911 call came into dispatch. The voice on the other end was quiet. Too quiet, not frantic, not weeping, not what one expects from a father reporting the death of a child. She's in the trash can, Iman said. She's dead. It's my daughter. The dispatcher paused, confused. Sir, what did you say? She's in the trash can. I tried to burn her, he repeated, eerily, calmly. My daughter, dead. Within minutes, police swarmed the suburban apartment complex where the Moss family lived. It was still dark outside. Porch lights flickered. Some neighbors peeked from the windows. Others stepped outside in their pajamas, dawned by the flashing blue lights. Iman stood outside the building, arms folded, eyes blank, his hand trembling slightly. He didn't run. He didn't resist. He just kept saying, she's in there. I couldn't do it. I couldn't bear her all the way. Officers walked towards the trash can, now slightly melted at the rim. They lifted the lid. Inside, they found a black plastic garbage bag, partially charred, twisted around something that was once a little girl. Her body curled unnaturally, as if trying to shield itself from the fire. Thin, fragile limbs stick out from under the blanket. She was emaciated and silenced. The officers looked away. Some gasped. One began to cry. Later, the death certificate would read homicide by starvation. It was not quick. It was not merciful. It was a result of a somatic, prolonging neglect and cruelty. Iman broke quickly under questioning. He told investigators everything, that Tiffany had starved Emani, that he had watched her waste away, that he hadn't called for help out of fear. He admitted he had tried to burn her body to hide what they have done. In 2015, Iman pled guilty to felony murder and concealing a death. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He expressed regret, but the damage was irreparable. Tiffany, however, did not cry, did not flinch, did not speak. From the moment of her arrest to the day of her trial, she remained a mystery, a void of emotion. She showed no sorrow for the child who once called her mommy, no shock at the horror of what had happened, no plea of mercy. In 2019, Tiffany shocked the court when she announced she would represent herself at her own murder trial. Legal observance and even the judge expressed concern. The charges were serious: murder, felony murder, child cruelty, and concealing a death. The evidence was overwhelming, and yet she refused legal counsel. She gave no open statement. She called no witnesses. She cross-examined no one. She offered no defense.
She sat silently as prosecutors laid bare the horrific final months of Emani's life. Photos, testimony, medical evidence. The jury wept as they saw the autopsy images. Teachers described how Emani had once been full of life. DFC workers testified about the abuse reports. The medical examiner detailed the slow death of starvation, how Emani's organs had begun shutting down, how her body had begun consuming itself to survive. Tiffany did not react. When the closing arguments ended, the jury retired to deliberate. They were gone for less than 3 hours. They returned with a guilty verdict on all counts. The judge asked Tiffany if she had anything to say before sentencing. She declined. She stood silently as the judge read her sentence: death. With that, Tiffany Moss became the only woman on Georgia's death row. No tears, no apology, no explanation. Only silence. A silence almost as chilling as the one that surrounded Emani in her final days. Long before the police sirens and courtroom verdicts, there was a grandmother, a woman with silvering hair and tired hands, who had once cradled Emani as a baby and whispered to her, "You are loved. You are precious." Her name was Robin Moss, and she never stopped trying to protect her granddaughter. Robin had seen the warning signs early. After Iman and Tiffany married, the warmth in her son began to change. He became more withdrawn, harder to reach. Robin worried. She had raised Iman as a single mother and knew him well, his gentle heart, his shy nature. But Tiffany's presence brought distance. Her son began speaking less and hiding more. And when it came to Emani, Robin's fears deepened into panic. She noticed bruises, noticed the weight loss. She saw the child she once babysat, once fed, once tucked into bed, begin to wither in spirit and body. Emani went from talkative and playful to quiet and nervous, and then disappeared altogether. Robin began making calls. She reached out to Georgia's Division of Family and Children Services, DFCS, multiple times. She pleaded for welfare checks. She reported her suspicions of abuse. She told anyone who would listen, "Something is wrong. Please help my granddaughter." But the system was slow. Caseworkers came, took notes, left. Nothing changed. Robin tried to get custody, but her requests were met with legal barriers and bureaucratic apathy. The family courts did not intervene. Emani remained with Iman and Tiffany, and with every visit, Robin could feel her slipping away. Years later, Robin would say, "I begged them to take her out of that house. I begged." The morning of October 28, 2013, began like any other for Robin Moss until the news came. A burned child's body has been found. It didn't take long before the name came through. Emani. Robin collapsed. "I thought I was dreaming," she would later tell the reporters. "I thought it was a nightmare." But it was real. The granddaughter she had tried to save, who once danced across her kitchen floor in socks and giggled at cartoons, had died alone, starved, and thrown into a trash can. The grief was unbearable, But what compounded was the guilt. Robin replayed every conversation, every call to DFCS, every warning ignored. She had tried, she had fought, but it hadn't been enough. And now the child she loved more than life was gone forever. In the years that followed, Robin became an unlikely crusader. She gave interviews, she spoke at hearings, she cried on television, but she never stopped saying the truth out loud. They failed her. I told them. I screamed for help. They ignored me. Robin filed a wrongful death lawsuit against DFCS, claiming that despite repeated warnings and prior abuse, they left Emani in the care of the very people who would kill her. The lawsuit alleged that DFCS had multiple opportunities to intervene but failed to do so, even as signs of abuse became impossible to ignore. One report from a school counselor in 2012 noted Emani was eating from trash cans. DFCS did not remove her. A final report in 2013, just before her death, suggested she was being kept from school altogether. But every time Emani was left behind. Robin's fight wasn't just about justice. It was about memory, about telling the world that Emani wasn't just a victim. She was a child, a person, someone whose laughter once filled a room, whose tiny arms once wrapped around her grandmother's neck and whispered, "I love you." There is a chair in Robin Moss's living room that no one sits in anymore. It's a small, child size, worn on the edges, once covered in stickers. It was Amani's chair. Robin keeps it as a kind of shrine, a reminder, not of the tragedy, but of the girl she knew before the darkness came. There are photos on the wall, Emani in a yellow dress, clutching a stuffed bear, Emani with cake frosting on her nose, Emani holding a crayon in one hand and waving with the other. Robin talks to her sometimes. "I'm sorry, baby," she whispers. "I tried. I really did." The house is quieter now. There are no more toys scattered on the floor. No little footsteps padding through the hallway, just silence and memory. But even in that silence, Emani lives on. Through her grandmother's voice, through the reforms sparked by her death, through the hearts of those who heard her story and said, "Never again." When the news broke of how Emani Moss had died, Georgia gasped. Not just because a child had perished, but because of the manner in which she was lost, starved to death in her own home, then burned and discarded like trash. The story hit every local station, then swept across national headlines. Newspaper used words like horrific, unthinkable, system failure. But for many in Georgia, especially those who had worked within the child welfare system, it was neither unthinkable nor unexpected. Amani's death was not just a tragedy, it was a reckoning. In the weeks following the arrest of Tiffany and Emani Moss, the Georgia Division of Family and Children Services, DFCS, released internal documents. Over 20 separate reports of Emani had been filed over the course of her life, each one like a flare in the night, and still nothing changed. Caseworkers documented signs of abuse. A complaint from a teacher in 2012 who said Emani was eating from the trash. A counselor's note that Emani said she was always hungry and afraid of her stepmother. A 2010 incident in which Emani was beaten with a belt so severely that she had visible welts, prompting a charge of cruelty against Tiffany Moss. Despite all of this, Emani was left with her abusers. Public outrage swelled like a rising tide. Protests were held outside DFCS offices across Georgia. Community members demanded accountability. Editorials filed newspapers asking the same question again and again. How could a little girl know to be in the system, be starved to death in 2013 America? Robin Moss, her grandmother, stepped forward with a powerful voice, telling every news outlet that would listen. They had every chance to save her, they didn't. And now my baby's gone. Legislators were shamed into action. Child advocates who had been ringing alarm bells for years were suddenly being invited to state houses to testify. The public wouldn't let Emani be forgotten. In 2014, Georgia Governor Nathan Deal ordered an emergency overhaul of DFCS. A new director was appointed. Caseload limits were reduced, pay was increased, and most critically, a Child Welfare Reform Council was formed to prevent another Emani Moss from falling through the cracks. New guidelines were implemented, mandatory follow-up for all repeat abuse cases, statewide digital tracking for child abuse reports, anonymous reporting systems made easier for schools and daycare providers. The council reviewed 15,000 open child welfare cases across the state. Several were fast-tracked for investigation, saving lives in the process. It wasn't just policy, it was a shift in culture, a shift that became too late for Emani, but perhaps just in time for others. Still, not everyone was satisfied. Why did DFCS close her case just months before she died? Why did no judge question Tiffany Moss's fitness as a guardian after a criminal child abuse charge? Why didn't the system believe Robin Moss, the one person who had tried? Emani's death became a case study at universities discussed by social work students, judges, and attorneys. Her name became synonymous with the cost of inaction. She was no longer just a victim, she had become a lesson, a name etched into Georgia's legal and social consciousness. More than a decade had passed since Emani Moss took her last breath, but her story continues to ripple outward. There are foster children today, safe and loved because social workers now dig deeper, call again, and trust their instincts. There are teachers who remember Emani when they see bruises and don't hesitate to report them. There are grandmothers who saw Robin Moss on the news and were inspired not to give up when the system tries to silence them. And there's a little girl's name spoken in training sessions, policy meetings, courtroom discussions. Don't let another child end up like Emani Moss. Before we end this case, let's remember the little girl that died. Emani Gabrielle Moss was just 10 years old when the world failed her. She was a bright, hopeful little girl who dreamed of becoming a teacher. She loved books, loved learning, and loved the safety of her grandmother's arms. Arms that once held her tightly, the way every child should be held. Her smile was wide and honest. Her heart was gentle, but the light inside her began to fade the day she was sent back to live with her father and stepmother. What followed was not just neglect, it was cruelty, slow and merciless. Emani was taken out of school. She was locked away in the bedroom, starved day after day. Her growing body denied the most basic human needs. The girl who once thrived on encouragement and affection was left to wither behind closed doors, unseen, unheard, and slowly erased. She grew thinner, frailer. Her body shrank, and so did her world. She became a ghost inside her own home. By the time she could no longer stand, by the time she was so weak she could barely breathe, no one reached for help. Not her stepmother, not her father. She was laid in the bathtub like a forgotten thing, barely conscious, fading fast. And then, in the still silence of night, Emani died. There was no final cry, no arms around her, and the weight of indifference above her. Her father didn't call 911. He wrapped her tiny body in a blanket, placed her in a trash bag, and left her in the outdoor bin. He tried to burn her, tried to erase what he had done. But the fire didn't take her, and the truth couldn't be buried. When the police arrived days later, they found Emani's body scorched but intact, fragile, twisted, and impossibly small. The death certificate would later confirm what everyone feared: homicide by starvation. Her father confessed he was once scared he was sentenced to life in prison. Her stepmother said nothing, representing herself at the trial. She called no witnesses, made no defense. The jury didn't need long. She was sentenced to death. But the punishment could never match the loss. Because at the center of it all, Emani Gabrielle Moss, a little girl who just wanted to be loved, a child who could have been anything, who should have been someone's everything. Emani didn't have to die. She could have grown up. She could have flourished. She should be here today. But now, all we can do is remember her, say her name, tell her story, make sure the world never forgets that Emani Gabrielle Moss mattered. And this is the case of Emani Gabrielle Moss. Now let's give our opinions.
Opinions.
Let's get into some theories. Let's get into some theories. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories. Lesbian detectives. What type of thoughts you thinking? What theories running through your mind? I'm thinking all types of suspicion. Uncover the truth, what we can find. Witness say they saw somebody creeping out the back door. What you think they did it for? That's so crazy, I'm not sure. They found a car, where could she be? Here go another puzzle piece. Researching through your history. It's plenty unsolved mysteries. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories, yeah. Let's get into some theories. Let's get into some theories. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories. Lesbian detectives.
You or me?
Go ahead.
I mean, it's really not no theories, but our opinion. It's just, I usually say like everybody felt this young child, but no, nobody really didn't feel her because the teachers did their job. Everybody really did their job to tell like DCFS that this little girl is being abused. Like they did their work, and the social workers didn't do their job like they should. Cause how it seemed how small she was getting, if they actually look at her and took the time to really look look, they would saw that she was wasting away. Even her grandma was fighting for her. Her grandma was fighting. And to me, it's like the stepmom. If you really didn't want her, it seemed like, we all know she didn't want her. You should just let the grandmama have her. Mm-hmm. Even the father, to me, it's like, oh, you didn't protect her through life or even death. Your child is dying in the bathroom. And as a man, you so-called scared of your wife. You ain't scared of your wife. You were scared to go to jail because he knew if he took her to the hospital and they saw the damage that she was in, he was going to jail. Point blank, simple, but you still go to jail. And somebody could have been there with her in her final moment. To me, guys, I do watch Touched by an Angel. It's an old show. I always believe like when somebody passes away, an angel right there. And I hope that's like, I pray and hope that an angel was there holding her hand through the darkest moment. Because I don't want to think that the little girl was dying by herself. I want to believe that an angel was there holding her hand and walking her to the gate of heavens. That's like something inside of me that I hope and pray that happened to her. Or someone, a loved one that passed away, also walk her to the gates of heaven.
So for me, this was a really hard case. I don't know if y'all can see, but I've been like wiping the tears, trying to pull through. But I do feel like a lot of people failed her.
Okay.
First, her mom. Mm-hmm. She chose drugs over her child, but I will give her some credit because at least she gave her to somebody she thought was going to take care of her. Mm-hmm. So the first incident that got documented, she was getting beat with a belt from her stepmom, Tiffany. Like right then and there, the dad should have done something. Mm-hmm. He should have cut it off. I understand that they had 2 kids, but why would you want to be with somebody like that? Mm-hmm. Like to me, that's evil. Mm-hmm. And DCF failed her. Mm-hmm. DCF had enough evidence to remove her. Mm-hmm. But they were like, oh no, let's give the abuser another chance. Another chance for what?
Right.
Another chance for another beating?
Right.
For more abuse?
Right.
For her death?
Right.
Why?
Because to me, you have the teachers telling you that she's getting abused, that this is what they're seeing. Then you have the guidance counselor telling you she's getting abused. This is what she's saying. Then you have the grandmother telling you, my grandchild is getting abused. This is what I'm seeing. This is what's getting done to my grandchild. Help me get my grandchild to make sure she has a good life. But no, you didn't. Tiffany did not love that little girl. Tiffany didn't care for that little girl. To me, Tiffany hated her. Like, some women get jealous of their man daughter because their man loved their daughter. Sometimes like, oh, I don't want my man loving another woman or little girl. I want to be the only woman or a woman or female that this man loved. And they get jealous about that situation.
I think Tiffany enjoyed abusing her. That's why she never told her husband Amon to get rid of her, because it seemed like Tiffany was the one that ran everything. He was just along for the ride. If she really did not want her there, she would have been gone to the grandmother, I'm sure.
Right.
But he didn't even want to talk to his own mother because he had things to hide. The grandmother, Robin, she knew that she could get to her son, and that's why he avoided her. Tiffany enjoyed abusing Emani. So Emani died alone 4 days after she was convulsing in the bathtub. And he didn't feel like he needed to reach out to anybody. He just let her die. And the fact that he felt some type of way after they got caught, like, how can you know what's going to happen next and be okay with it? And then once she does pass, how do you put her in a trash bag inside a trash bin and light her on fire? Like, that to me was the hardest thing, like, I had to hear, because how do you just throw a human being away? I don't understand. He was afraid of getting caught. He was more afraid of what was going to happen to him and Tiffany than what was happening to his own daughter. And I just don't understand how he went through with all of this. If I ever, God forbid, right, get remarried and they do the slightest thing to my daughter, like, you're done. She comes first, because I have a responsibility towards her, and I want somebody who's going to help me grow with my daughter, who's going to be there. You know, I don't need somebody telling me what to do and then abusing my daughter. I don't understand that. But he made his choice, and honestly, like, Tiffany, she also seems like she's the type of person that wants to run everything. She didn't even want the legal counsel to represent her, which to me is awesome, because she got the death penalty. She deserves that. And even so, she deserves to live the rest of her life behind bars, thinking about what she did to Emani.
And to me, like, when he told police, oh, I was scared, I was this, you had time to pick her up. You had time when she stopped giving her food and you saw your child wasting away. That was a moment, to me, he could have easily, like, just took Emani, took her to the hospital, and just left. You know, try to do something, try to save her life. I don't know, because I'm not a doctor. I don't know if they could have saved her life in that moment, because she probably was so far gone, because her organs probably was shutting down. So much probably shutting down. I don't know, in that day they could have saved her, but a nurse could have held her hand. Somebody could have been there fighting for this little girl. Her grandmama could have came and, you know, been there and held her. Like, her grandmama loved her. Her grandmama fought for her. For her, like, if I was a grandmother and I see that my child is doing this to my grandchild, I couldn't even look at my child no more, because I'm like, I didn't raise you like this. What kind of person? You're not even a person to me. You was evil. You're a monster. You're not human to me. Because for you to sit there and watch your child die, you sitting there, you seeing her lifeless, like, you know, like, in my head, if, like, I'm picturing you seeing your daughter, like, dying away, and you're like, okay, let me just put her here and walk away. And just walk away. Not to sit there and hold her. Not to sit there and say, I'm sorry. I mean, he probably could have said, like, I'm sorry, all this. No. Like, your daughter loved you. Like, she still believed, like, in her father. In that moment, she probably, like, okay, she probably saw her father, like, okay, he probably will save me in this moment. He probably will protect me in this moment. Like, he sees me. And she's 10. But no, and the reason why she took the little girl out of school is because she didn't want the teachers keep coming back at her. That's the only reason she took her out of school. And it's just sad. And guys, I don't know if you see my wife is crying. It's just crazy because we have did so many cases, and this one is just hurting her. If you see this on YouTube, you just see my wife just crying her eyes out, and it is sad. Like,
I think the saddest part is she died thinking she wasn't enough, she wasn't loved. They found notes of her saying that she was going to do better, she was going to be better. And so she died thinking that she was worthless. And to me, that's so sad. Sorry.
guys, it's just been a hard case for my wife, and it's just been a hard case. And the person who picked this case out, you made my wife cry, and we have done so many cases, and this one just touched her heart. And I do have a case that's make me cry, and I have not did it yet, so it's hard. I understand, but I just wish, like, one person that makes me mad the worst, the judge. Like the judge, and when she first got charged with child neglect, the judge was like, oh, you know what? It's okay. I'm not going to do all this, take you to trial or do this. What he should have done or what she should have done is really put some charges on her. Make her take some class, even though she kind of took class, but we don't really know the classes she took. We don't know all the stuff that she should have done. But to me, in that moment, is a lot that judge, the first judge, could have done. And we was fostering to adopt, and our caseworker told us, like, they probably get the kid back. Like, this kid probably been through hell, but if that mom or dad, to me, do the basic, just do the basic, they will get their child back. But that child gonna go back to that same household, get abused again, and then be back in the system. But it's Emani, she had somebody for her. She had her grandmama. Her grandmama fought. It's just, to me, the caseworker and the social worker who was over her case, you can't say nothing to me. Because too many people came to you to warn you about their household. And you didn't do nothing. That baby was 10 years old, weighed 32 freaking pounds when she passed away. My daughter is 2 years old, and she weighs 40 pounds. Let's just do that math right quick. Like, ridiculous. So you know what, you are. I feel like the system failed her, the judges failed her, but other people that's in her life didn't fail her. Like her dad, we already know he ain't about nothing. Tiffany ain't about nothing. But her teachers, I never really see the teachers in some of these cases really fight for the kid. Like the teachers, they really did. They told the social workers, they told all these people. Yeah. So I'll give them a hand for that. But I just wonder, like, her teachers, when they heard the news, like, that broke their heart, probably. Yeah. Because they're like, dang, like, I did what I could have done. I reported it. What else, like, in that moment, like, sitting back, that teacher was like, what else could I have done? I did everything that I could have done to get her out this situation, but she still went back to that house and they took her out of school. Because, sometimes we don't even know. The teacher probably was, like, giving her food or making sure she eats or, caring for her. Because I know a lot of teachers will do that for the kid. They will, like, bring them food. This lady I know that is a teacher, she put snacks on her, like, in her classroom for her kids. Like, if they do come to her class hungry, they would come like, hey, like, I'm hungry, I already didn't eat today. And she has cereal. She has, like, a lot of food for her kids. So if they are hungry, she would give them food. And sometimes during the summertime, she will, like, certain kids, she will, like, keep in contact with them and give them food through the summer. Like, she is an amazing teacher, hands down. I'm not going to tell you her name because I don't know if she want her information out like that, but she is an amazing, amazing lady.
She's a hero.
Mm-hmm. My wife is she just can't do it today, guys. She's really crying. Like, if you see her on YouTube, like, her eyes are just watery, eyes red. Thank you to the person that suggested this case. This case right here, I gave it my all. The person who suggested this case, thank you so much. I thank my wife, thank you the most, because she's crying like a little baby. But this is our episode, and please follow us on all our social medias. Give us that 5-star rating. Tell us, what do you think about this episode? What do you think that the social worker, the DCFS, could have done better in this situation. We are on YouTube. Subscribe, like, and comment. And this is Lesbian Detectives. I'm Sierra.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And don't forget, everybody's a suspect.
So proven innocent.
Bye.
Lesbian Detective. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it. They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break? Or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Right now, Lesbian Detective, Lesbian Detective. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready, let's go. Pay attention to the message I present to you, the Lesbian Detectives.